Ingin Terzi just put out an interview with Levan Saganishvili after the match with Devon Larratt, and it is live on the East vs West YouTube channel, so make sure to go check that out if you haven't already. But in this video, Ingin asks Levan what he thinks Devon needs to do in order to improve. Essentially, he's asking Levan to coach Devon for the future. Here's what he said.
What did he need more? The side pressure more?
Side pressure, yes. I feel my side pressure is
much stronger.
So I find that very interesting, and based off of the match results, I definitely agree. One of the things that I was super excited about to see in this match is to compare the difference between Devon's attempt at Levan and Ermi's attempt at Levan. This is because Devon and Ermi's are inversely proportional athletes in terms of the strength of their hand and wrist. In other words, Devon has a very interesting balance where his hand is far stronger than his arm is. Devon's pronation is right up there with Levan's, it's probably a little bit less than Levan's, but other than that, Devon may just have the strongest pronation out of anyone in the super heavyweight class. However, if you compare Devon's side pressure and you compare Devon's bicep, in other words, his overall arm power, to that of the super heavyweight class, I don't think he's even close to the top in that regard. He's probably around top 10. I think people like Gennady Kvikvenya, people like Ermis Gasparini, probably even Georgi and Alex have far greater arm power, far greater bicep and side pressure than Devon does. And Ermis, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. If anything, he probably has a slight weakness in the strength of his hand and wrist, but as we know, Ermis' back pressure is absolutely insane. It's probably second only to Levan, and one could even make the case that his back pressure might be even greater than Levan's. So going into this match, from the looks of it, Devon intentionally just went with this imbalance. We didn't see him doing a lot of direct bicep training to max out that lane, but rather he was only training his bicep through the hand and wrist. So his hand and wrist was always the limiting factor of the movements he was doing. So I was super interested to see exactly what was going to happen on the ready go. And what we saw was that Devon did crack Levan's wrist back using that insane pronation, and of course still accompanied by his really good back pressure, but not world-class back pressure. But immediately after this, what we saw is that even though Devon had full hand control, Levan could still bump Devon sideways, he could still move the match to his side of the table, and that's exactly what happens. This is part of what enabled Levan to be able to flat press in this match, was that he could open the bicep of Devon even though he was lacking in hand control. And I think this moment really demonstrated how big of a gap there is between Devon's hand and wrist. He had hand control, but he still didn't have the arm power to dictate the match from that position. Now, if you had put Ermis Gasparini in that exact same position, I don't think that Levan would have been able to just rip Ermis to his side of the table, and this is because Ermis has far greater back pressure and far greater side pressure than Devon does. Now, Ermis would never have gotten there to begin with because his hand isn't as strong, but I still find this general situation extremely interesting. It looks like potentially what would be needed to defeat Levan would be to combine Ermis Gasparini's back pressure and side pressure with Devon Larratt's hand strength or something like that. If Devon's arm strength, if his back pressure and his side pressure was, let's say, 10 or 20% stronger, Levan may have not been able to drag the match to his side of the table, and that would have left him without access to his shoulder roll. Could that have entirely changed the outcome of the match? It's hard to know, but it definitely would have helped Devon a ton. And even in the later rounds, something that is extremely interesting is that neither guy really ever has full hand control. Even in rounds 2 through 4, if you will look, you'll notice that Levan's wrist is still cracked back just a little bit. The biggest difference is that Levan's arm power is so much greater than that of Devon's. Neither guy really has a great position in terms of the hand and wrist, but Devon's bicep is just getting totally blown through by Levan's back pressure and his side pressure. So let me know what you guys think about this. Do you agree with Levan's prescription for Devon that right now he probably just needs to increase his arm power and his hand and wrist is already on point? I don't know if this is possible for Devon to do this to a huge degree, but I would be really interested to see how Devon's game would change if this takes place.